fact, it has been stated by many that the first month of our presidency, it's our presidency, is the most successful in the history of our nation. Do you know who number 2 is? George Washington. How about that?
Reaction continuing to come in tonight to President Trump's speech to a joint session of Congress and a divided nation. In his first address since returning to power, in the longest annual address in modern history, he focused on the economy, digging in on trade and tariffs, and promising to provide relief to working families, all amid high inflation. The president also praised the work of the U.S. DOGE service and its leader, Elon Musk, who was in attendance last night as well. Millions believe his presidency will usher in a new American golden age, but millions also fear he will destroy the country they love. Joining us now for reaction to what's being called the most polarizing address in history is California Democratic Representative Brad Sherman. Congressman, thank you so much for being here on this rainy Wednesday.
Good to be with you.
So let's start with those latest poll numbers out this morning. A CBS News YouGov survey says 76% of speech watchers approved of what they heard. The president said America's back and the American dream unstoppable. Your takeaways?
Republicans watched the speech. Democrats didn't. You can't do a poll of speech watchers and get an understanding of what Americans are thinking.
So the president addressed Congress with the stock market tanking, inflation up, price of eggs soaring, all of which he blamed, as you heard, on President Biden. Democrats booed. They held up signs. Congressman Al Green got kicked out over opposition to proposed Medicaid cuts. But once again, pundits are slamming Democrats for not having any leverage, message, cohesive leadership to stage any real opposition. Talk to me. You did not carry a sign. You said that was not the right tack. Did the Democrats respond well last night?
I think the Democrats responded well, but I went to my people and said it's critical that we make sure that Democrats control the House and the White House, and that if we don't, things were going to be very bad. And I wasn't lying. If I thought that a minority of Democrats in the House was all you needed to stop a destructive Trump presidency, I wouldn't have told everybody to work so hard to try to avoid a Trump presidency. This is real. Elections have consequences. We're in the minority, and we're about as unified as we've ever been. And he's saying a lot of things that are demonstrably untrue. And as people look at those things, I think they will galvanize a lot of Democratic support.
Like what? Give me some of the most, let's say, egregious points you think were made by the president last night, and if there was anything that you liked that he said.
Well, he said we provided $350 billion to Ukraine. We provided half of that. He decided to identify a few people who died because of actions of immigrants. And he never mentioned the thousands and thousands of Americans who are alive today because an immigrant doctor saved their lives, or an immigrant nurse had them recover, an immigrant home health care worker allowed them to get out of bed without falling and breaking a hip. And that's just the medical field. The idea of looking at any group and picking out a few felons and say that's the group. I don't, make a list of everybody with orange hair and say, well, that epitomizes Donald Trump. So it's he had another one where he attacked circumcision in southern Africa without ever saying why. Circumcision reduces the transmission of AIDS by 60%. Right. And if people get AIDS in Africa, they die, or they might. And every time somebody has AIDS, it can mutate in that one person and come back here in worse form.
Right.
So we're saving thousands of lives in Africa, perhaps millions. We're saving thousands of Americans if, God forbid, this disease mutates again. And he makes it sound trivial and stupid.
Right. Congressman, following the president's address, the Democrats did put up a newcomer on the stage, Senator Lisa Slotkin, to give the response, right? She highlighted Trump's promise to better the economy, and today she says inflation is up, gas and grocery prices soaring. Take a listen. I'll ask you about it on the other side.
The national debt is going up, not down. And if he's not careful, he could walk us right into a recession. And one more thing. In order to pay for his plan, he could very well come after your retirement. The Social Security, Medicare, and VA benefits you worked your whole life to earn. The president claims he won't, but Elon Musk just called Social Security the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time.
So Slotkin this morning and today is getting high marks for her counter last night. But Democrats fear there's no one to address these issues head on. Even Senator John Fetterman is blasting Democrats for walking out last night. And critics say the party has no leverage. But here's the question, will they? When it comes to this looming government shutdown, how will Democrats, how will you use that leverage?
I think Republicans will try to pass a continuing resolution with only Republican votes. That's very hard because they can't afford to lose but 2 or 3 Republicans. But they are so unified behind Donald Trump that they may be able to pass legislation without Democratic votes in the House. As to the attack on Social Security and the VA, the word came out today they're trying to fire 76,000 of the VA's employees, most engaged in health care. And, of course, they lied a lot about Social Security to build a foundation for abolishing or gutting Social Security in the near future.
Right. All right, let's talk terrorists before I have to let you go. President Trump dialing back on some of them tonight following blowback from U.S. automakers. But a trade war with our closest allies remains. Last night he said, we, quote, would see a little disturbance, but claims the economy is great. Well, the stock market does not reflect that, nor opinion polls that show the majority of Americans do not like the way the economy is going under his watch. The president is blaming Joe Biden for it all. And it's not just Democrats that are alarmed. Some Republicans and independents are also expressing concern. So what do you say to the president? Will short-term pain lead to any gains?
I think he's handling it all wrong. We have big trade deficits, and we need to open up foreign markets. But you don't go to war with the whole world simultaneously. You should have focused on China and demanded that we have entry to the Chinese markets. For example, only 40 American movies can be shown in China in any year, whereas an unlimited number of electronic goods made in China come into the United States. So you can focus on these one things and open this or that market one at a time, one country at a time. But he's gone to trade war with the entire world. China, Europe, I guess Russia is the only country he gets along with.
Yeah. Well, I wish we had many more hours to speak on so many other issues, but Representative Brad Sherman, I hope you come back to the rush hour. Thank you so much for weighing in on the day after. Appreciate you being here.